welcome, my fellow cinephiles, the film fam. Thank you for joining me. I'm Jay Feezy. This is Feezys Media, and welcome to That One Movie. This is Sinners. We're going to be covering Sinners. I'm really looking forward to discussing this movie. I'm going to go ahead and just bring my guests in, and we'll just jump right into it because this is a lot of interesting stuff to talk about, and I'm looking forward to discussing it. So, without further ado, let me welcome my guest, my panelist, Gio, the Movie Canon. Gio, how you doing, good sir?
Hey Feezy, how you doing?
Good, sir. Good. Thank you for joining me, man. I know you've joined me before. We've discussed some a previous horror movie, The Exorcist. That's
Oh
up
yeah,
now. That's still on my channel, and so you're back again. That one was about 3 hours long, but
oh
this
yeah,
one is not gonna. Yeah, I'm not anticipating this one to be that long.
yeah, yeah.
I've learned to shorten it down. So welcome back. I'm glad to have you back, man, and discuss this another horror movie with you.
So Feezy, are you inviting me in to this channel right now? You're you're inviting me in here.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure
All
you're
right, all
welcome. Come
right.
on in. Yeah,
I'm invited. All
yeah.
right, cool.
You are
All
invited. Yeah.
right. So thank you so much, Feezy, for
Yeah.
inviting me on the channel tonight. So
Yes, sir. I like that. Well done. Well played on that one. Yeah. Give you kudos for that one. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
But
so yeah, it's been a while. I think the first time that I streamed with you, Feezy, was back in December of 2023. Was the anniversary of The Exorcist. It was actually on the day of December 26th. Uh, December 26th, 2023. The movie came out December 26th, 1973. I met you guys, you and Alex Montano. Awesome stream. Great discussion about the film, the horror movie, The Exorcist, and that was a lot of fun. And then we did at least with you, we did the Christmas one too. That was a lot of fun last year, so that was
yeah.
cool.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you for pointing out. And yeah, those are both up on the channel Feezy Media. We did a ranking of the more like, is it a Christmas movie? Whenever some movies that
Mm-hmm.
people would have kind of a debate on whether they're Christmas movies or not. So yeah, I'll reiterate those towards the end of the stream and or the end of the video. Sorry, and I'll put links in the description below. You guys can check those out if you're interested. And those might be some links at the end of the video as well, kind of and the outros there. So be on the lookout for that, and feel free to check those out if you guys are interested. But yes, again, Gio, thank you for joining me and spending some time to discuss this movie.
I'm excited. I'm excited for Sinners tonight. Yeah.
Yes, sir. All right. So then, with that, let's go ahead and jump right into it. So overall thoughts. I think we're just going to jump right into it. First, I figured we give our overall thoughts. Do the bad, the good. Spoilers. The bad is not that. That list is not that long, honestly. So,
Yeah, it's
but I'll go
not
over.
too long for me.
Yeah. And speaking of spoilers, this will be a spoiler overview / discussion. So if you have not seen the movie, I suggest, and you don't want to be spoiled, you feel free to come back, go check out the movie because I highly recommend it, and come back and check this out. And if that is the case, keep in mind there are two post-credit scenes. Well, there's like a mid-credit scene and there's a post-credit scene, so you want to stay for those. And I think they're both worth checking out, in my opinion. So there are two of those. But yeah. So again, spoilers. We're going to go into spoilers, so just keep that in mind. And if not, or if you don't care, you didn't continue to watch. We appreciate you even more. All right. So Sinners, as a lot of you may or may not know, directed and written by Ryan Coogler. Composer or score done by Ludwig. Is that how you pronounce it? Ludwig Göransson?
It seems close enough to me.
Yeah,
So,
Göransson.
like
Yeah, I
with Gordon,
apologize,
yeah.
Mr. Göransson, if I butchered your name. And cinematographer by Autumn Durald Arcapa. I want to. I'm sorry again if I'm butchering the name, but I bring that up because the cinematography in this movie was beautifully done as well. So I want to make sure I shout her out as well.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so overall general thoughts. Yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. I know we were discussing backstage here before we started the video. I went out and I saw this movie twice. That's how much I loved it. That's rare, especially in theaters. When I go out and see a movie twice in theaters, then that's a good indicator that I personally really
Same
enjoyed the
here.
movie or loved it. And so, yeah, this is one of the few. And I think this is the first one this year that I've actually seen in theaters twice so far. And so, yeah, that should be saying a lot. I mean, I know this won't be for everybody, especially those who may not be too into horror, because this is definitely a horror movie. But yeah, it was, and I'm a horror fan, as you can probably tell from my other previous videos that we did. We just mentioned The Exorcist.
Hmm.
I know Gio, you are as well. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed this movie. This is one that I can definitely see adding to my collection, because I'm really picky and choosy about which physical media I buy. If I move, it's a movie that I know will stick with me and I'll watch multiple times, and it's worthy of going in my collection. And so this one, yeah, 4K Steelbook edition, when that comes out, that definitely be coming home when that is released. But yeah, so right off the bat, I can just say this took elements from multiple movies that I also really enjoyed, and I think that's probably um, what just sold me on it. So it took probably some of the best parts of some of these three movies that I really enjoyed. I can tell within the first 20 minutes of this watching this movie, I knew I was going to love it. And so, to me, in my opinion, it felt like it took the music aspects of "Oh Brother Where Art Thou," the kind of like Robin Hood type esque modern day era of American Gangster. You know, Denzel Washington's character in that movie, he kind of Smoke and Stack, that played by Michael B. Jordan, the twins here, kind of had that persona that I believe his name was Frank, Denzel Washington's character in American Gangster, and I probably should have looked at it before, but yeah, it kind of
I believe
reminded
you're
me
right.
of him, the twins. So uh, had that element in it, and then of course as the horror aspect and of like their situation they were in, and just that whole vibe from Dusk Till Dawn. I think for the
Hmm.
most part, it took parts heavily influenced by that. And actually, I come to learn that Ryan Coogler did use that movie as an inspiration. That was his influence for this movie, along with the Faculty. I don't know if you remember that movie,
Oh, and
Faculty.
another Robert Rodriguez movie.
Exactly. Yeah. So it seems like
Yeah.
Robert Rodriguez was his inspiration for these. And so,
Oh,
yeah, I just learned that the other
that's
day.
cool.
You know, it's a bit of trivia there. But yeah. And so, like I said, all three of those, all three aspects of those movies that I love. And I just really enjoyed those movies in general. But, you know, those were like really good parts of those movies combined to this. And so that's how I saw this. But yeah, I'll pause there and I'll turn it over to you. What are your general overall thoughts of this movie, and just anything else you want to add before we go into the little more specifics?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the movie quite a bit. I didn't watch it twice in the theater. It does take quite a bit for me to want to rewatch a movie in the theater, like you mentioned. BZ is not something that's regular. Even though I do have the AMC A list stuff, so I can just go wherever and whenever, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a great film. I do like films that mix different like genres, different type of films into one story.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like a positive thing to Sinners. At the same time, when we get to the negatives part, that is also a bit of a negative component at the same time. But I'll explain that a
Mhm.
little later. But yeah, the characters in this movie, they're very rich, they're very rounded. The performances are super strong. I also have I made like a short list of potential Oscar nominations for this film,
Okay.
because I do think there's usually about 8, 9, or 10 Best Picture nominees each year since they implemented the 10 nominees for Best Picture
Okay.
at the Academy Awards. So uh, even if it's at the least amount of films in 2025, let's say it's only 8, I do think Sinners will go in there as one of the top Best Picture contenders next year. I mean,
Mhm.
it's super early in the year. It's May, but I do think this will get a Best Picture nomination, and I'll go into that list a little later. Yeah, the music. A lot of people talk about the music. It's definitely a huge, strong feature, very strong component to the movie.
Mhm.
Uh, Michael B. Jordan. This is probably going to be a hot take, but Michael B. Jordan. I never thought his performance was that great in Black Panther, but
Oh, yeah.
this is his best performance by far.
Yes. Yeah.
Playing the twins, he is playing two characters, right? So
Hmm.
I was actually able to tell which character he's talking about or which character he's portraying just by the way that each twin sounded, just on the voice.
Yes.
Like
Yep.
I don't need to see Michael B. Jordan as Smoke or as Stack. If I can just hear, and maybe no one's on the scene, no one's in the shot, but I just hear it, I know which twin it is just by hearing it. So that was all based on the performance there. Of course, we got the direction of Ryan Coogler. A lot of the performances, a lot of the acting does have a little bit to do with the way that they are directed. So definitely great film from Ryan Coogler. Of all the films that he has made, and I have watched all five of his films, they've all been solid, good movies. Not a single bad movie so far. So that's Ryan Coogler right there. We got Fruitvale
Hmm.
Station, the two Black Panther movies, Creed, and now
Yep.
Sinners. So um, let's see. So the story, I already talked about the story, the mixture of the historical components with horror and the Jim Crow era. So that works because there've been some situations in the past of other films. Like I don't know if you've ever seen the vampire. I'm sorry, the Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Oh,
Did
no,
you,
I have not.
did you ever? Anyway,
I've heard of it, but I've seen it.
there's a book that they there's a book that came out where Abraham Lincoln is like this vampire hunter killer, and
Mhm.
he's like during Civil War era, and then he's out. All these like Southern vampires are in the South, and they're like trying to attack Abraham Lincoln, and then never Jefferson Davis, who was the president of the Confederacy, he was the like the main vampire. So the book was cool, but then the movie came out, and that mixture did not work at all. It's one of like the worst movies I've
Oh,
seen. So not exactly comparing it to this movie, but it's not as easy as you think.
yeah.
Combining some kind of historical era in the background in the setting, and then adding a little bit of horror components in there. So this one definitely worked. Yeah, so a lot of cool stuff. Some other details that we can get into in a bit, but overall, I really like the movie. It's like I said, it's early in the year, so
Mhm.
far it is the best film of the year so far. But like I said, it's May, so that could
Yep.
change in the next few months. But that's where I'm at with the Sinners right now.
Yeah, no, you bring up a lot of good points. Yeah, and I forgot to mention, obviously, where this some of you may already be aware, but definitely, yeah, it takes place in the 1930s, Mississippi, or in the South during the Jim Crow era, and yeah, it's ultimately it's a vampire movie, and I agree with Michael B. Jordan. It's always difficult to play two characters. I'm sure. For an actor to play two different characters, and so I mean, they're pretty similar. Obviously, they're twins, and so they have some
Mhm.
similarities. But yeah, like you pointed out, it was easy to tell which one he was playing, based on just how he was portraying that character. So I guess
Right.
with that said, we'll just jump right into it, right? So we'll go ahead and start off with the bad. As I touched on earlier, there's not too many negatives that I have on this movie because, like I said, I really enjoyed it. But it's not perfect. I will say that. I'm not gonna lie. I will be honest with myself. As much as I enjoyed it, it's not perfect. The only let's see. I'm sure there was a lot of minor things, but the main thing that kind of bothered me, and you may have some others that I didn't think of, but the main thing that bothered me was, again, spoilers. Towards the end, when after it was smoke that turned towards the end, he was turned to a vampire, right? And they
Mhm.
were fighting. You come to find out that his brother Stack, ended up letting him go with the promise that he wouldn't go after Sammy, the guitar player, and we'll touch on this a little bit more here,
Mm.
and that it was kind of just left at that. He's a vampire. Smoke was turned to vampire, so his first craving, his first instinct is just to feed on people, and then obviously he was kind of following at that time that hive mind like of Remick, the main vampire. I guess if you want
Oh
to call
yeah.
him the vampire in the movie, right? And it kind of seems like they were all feeling what he was feeling, and they kind of followed his lead. But it just kind of seemed inconsistent in that at that point, where they had that interchange. If that was actually how they actually portrayed it, where Smoke and Stack were just saying, "Hey, I'll let you live, I'll let you go if you just leave Sammy alone." And so that didn't really sit too well with me. I just thought that was kind of like an easy he let him off easy, basically kind of like an easy pass. I guess maybe you can probably say it was left open ended in that sense to
Mm.
allow for a sequel. Because there's a couple aspects that probably could lend itself to a sequel, and obviously the ending that we see in the post credit or the mid credit scene, where they do return, where uh, now I'm second guessing. So do I have him right? Smoke was the one that turned into a vampire, right?
Smoke was. Hold on. Let me look at my notes real quick.
I should have this down. Yeah.
Smoke, no, Smoke is Annie's husband. So it's Stack. Stack is the one who turned into a vampire.
Stack. Okay, gotcha. Yep. Oh, there you go. I'm already failed. So Stack, thank you for correcting. Yeah. So Stack, the one that turned into a vampire. See, that's how we did it. I'm like really confusing. So the one that they turned into a vampire. Yeah, we see him come back, return later on in the post mid credit scene with Mary, right? His love interest, Haley Seinfeld, and so that kind of allowed some leeway to for a sequel, basically, just to kind of continue it on. But I don't know. It just, like I said, it just didn't sit well with me that it was that easy. Just he kept his promise. I mean, I know they were brothers previously, but you get the sense that once they're vampires, their motivations, their instincts kind of change, and they're looking after turning as many people as they can, or just getting that craving, feeding that craving, right, that they have to feed on humans, on blood, basically. And so that was the main sticking point for me. Other than that, I didn't honestly. Yeah, I couldn't. One other, I guess, minor thing that didn't really deter me too much from the story was I would have loved to hear more about the origin of the guitar. Right? And I know it was revealed later on that it belonged to Smoke and Stack's father. It was in. They had lied initially about where the guitar came from, and I forget the name of the musician that they said that they initially got it from. Right. But one of the brothers said it was like, oh yeah, I used to be this musician's guitar, and then later on, the other brother, I need to get that corrected. The other brother was saying no, he's full of shit. That was our dad. Yeah. And so I wish I would have kind of went into that. Had me thinking like, okay, does that mean that their father, he seemed like an evil man anyways, right? He was beating him, and he could have killed him, and he seemed like he was about to, until they, the brothers killed their father. And so it seemed like he was an evil man. So it kind of has me wondering if he was using that guitar for evil purposes, or what, or just how it became, or maybe it wasn't even about the guitar. I don't know. It was just, maybe it was more about the person, because it made it seem like that guitar specifically, right? They seemed like they had an emphasis on kind of implying that the guitar was what was had some sort of spiritual kind of ability to it. You know what I'm saying? Like it kind of seemed like, but
yeah.
Going back and thinking about it now, it seems maybe it was just all on Sammy himself. It was just him, so he could have been playing on any guitar,
right?
Right, and it was more about the musician. And that's kind of what they touched on in the beginning, in the intro of the movie, right? It's just they had all these names for all these different these key musicians, or these certain certain people that can trigger through their music. They can kind of.
I thought I understood that it was Sammy who inspired, who opened that gates or whatever of the spiritual realm or world or whatever. So I didn't really see it as the guitar that it did it. Or maybe it could have been like a combination of the guitar and the musician. But my understanding was it Sammy himself, like the individual.
Yeah. Now that I say that out loud, and now that you mentioned it, I think that does make more sense. It kind of just clicked as I was saying that. But I don't know. It just seemed like the guitar had some, for some reason, like it was special or something, because he didn't want to. There was that scene where he went to the church after that night after, after, and then he didn't want to let it go, and so they were really emphasizing on him not letting go of the guitar. But that just could be more of like an analogy, or like a metaphor of him not wanting to let go of music in general. Like, just music was his love, his life, and so he didn't want to give that up. And with that conversation he had with see, now I'm trying to I gotta look more into this with Smoke, right? One of the brothers. I'll just say one of the brothers. I should have got this down earlier. Apologies. But when he was having that conversation, saying like, I just want to go. I want to be free like you did. And he was saying, I'm just going to do that. I'm not going to go back to being a preacher's son. I want to go and do my own thing. And so I think that was him holding the guitar in the morning after, was kind of indicating that like he made his choice. And then obviously we see him drive off in the car holding that the neck, I think it's called, of the guitar. And then we see it, he had rebuilt it later on. in the
Yeah,
mid credit scene.
but like even what you're talking about, like, is it the guitar? Is it the musician? Those are kind of the things that kind of open up this whole idea of, the storytelling. That there's a lot of things, a lot of like metaphorical or just some kind of messages in there that's could
Mhm.
be debated and discussed. So that's
That's true.
usually a
Yeah.
good sign about good storytelling. Like, oh, I interpreted this, or I caught this, not that. I don't
Yeah.
remember in the movie about specifically the guitar. I know they emphasize on the guitar, but I don't know if it was because it was the dad's that we found out later, um, or maybe it was something else. So it might be just one of those things that you just kind of have to like figure it out on your own. What do you think that actually meant? Was it something or was it nothing? Things like that.
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. You're probably right. Yeah. Even more reason for me to go back and watch it again.
There you
But
go.
yeah, for some reason I just had it in my head. Like part of it was the guitar solo, but maybe I just misinterpreted that. You're right. Like maybe, but that is a good point. It could be left for interpretation. That I agree. That's a
Mhm.
good sign of good writing, where it's not as direct and it's you leave it to the viewers how they interpret certain things. And that kind of actually makes
Or
it more fun because then you see different viewpoints in that. Yeah. Go
or
ahead.
or maybe they were specifically clear in the movie and we just didn't catch it in the
Yeah.
movie. But
Or maybe I didn't
so,
catch it. Yeah.
so there's
It
that.
just
But
went over
yeah,
me.
because
Yeah.
I don't remember. I just, like I said, I just remember the guitar, the emphasizing on it. I don't remember about something special. Initially, what you said, that the brother lied about whose guitar it was, but then we
Yeah.
found out that it wasn't. So, like I said, if they mentioned that it was something else than what I understood, then maybe it's there. But I didn't catch anything else about that.
Yeah, another reason I thought that, and it just came to me, another reason why I thought that was because, when Sammy goes in to meet his father in the morning, um, sorry, or like the night before, he heads out with the twins.
Mhm.
His guitar is laying there and is kind of resting in the church up near his father, and he just looks at it, and his father just kind of says, go ahead and take it, or go ahead and get it, kind of making it seem like it was off limits or something, like there was something. But again, maybe just because his father's limiting music and he doesn't want him always playing music, he's kind of being restricting of his music playing basically. And so maybe that was more that instead of and initially I just interpreted it as like this guitar had more spiritual elements to it, and his father was aware, so he limited it. So, but yeah, again, it could be just up for interpretation. But yeah, those were, so going back to the cons, to summarize, the fact that one of the brothers was just let go and just promised him, hey, don't hurt Sammy, I'll let you go, and that I think that probably could have been handled better. And then I probably could throw out the guitar thing because maybe I just interpreted that differently, so I wouldn't even count that. But yeah, what about you, Gio? What were your cons, if any, on this movie?
Um, the couple of negatives that I have for this movie are just things that maybe other people wouldn't really find it a negative component to the movie. It's just the way that I like to watch movies or film, and the structure of the film, the script, the way that it was written, it did feel like it was two movies. Like I said, I mentioned earlier that some people will find it as a positive, and sometimes it is. I just thought that they should have been a little bit more mixture with the horror components and the historical era, Jim Crow era, and then the drama. All the other stuff that is happening within the characters that are actually making these characters so rich, right? But it feels like the first half is really like a completely different movie. It could be like a drama on its own, which in itself would be good. And then the other half is like a complete like horror movie. And then at the end, when it comes to like the KK clan that show up at the end, then it kind of becomes into like an action movie type of thing. So I mean, that was like the only thing that was I had a bit of an issue with, but it wasn't really like a big deal. Even with From Dusk Till Dawn, which you mentioned, and you said that Ryan Coogler was inspired by that film. That one also felt like it was two or three movies in one film. Um, and then the other thing
You
is
saying,
maybe the what was that?
no, I was just asking. So you're saying you didn't like that aspect of it, of both those movies?
Right. It just it's a little bit of a negative component to it. Like I said, it's not a huge deal, but it does affect it a little bit when, especially when I did my overall grade of it. uh, because I kind of don't usually like, with certain exceptions, I usually don't like when one film feels like, oh, it's this type of movie, it's that type of movie, and then it's another type of movie within the same movie.
I see. Okay.
I like a little bit more consistency of, if there's going to be a mixture of genres, mixture of this type of story and that type of story. I do like it to be a little bit more consistent with both, not just half is this, half is that. Like I said, some people may disagree with that, and that's perfectly fine, right? But that's kind of how it hits me when it comes to those type of story structures. And I was going to mention the rewatchability of the movie. Like, I don't see myself rewatching this movie many times, so that kind of affects it sometimes when I grade, a film or whatever the case. But I do acknowledge that this movie is a well crafted film for sure. All of the boxes are checked when it comes to what makes a film great. Except with the exceptions that I personally felt were not great. But I think that's it. I think that's it for the negatives for me anyway.
Yeah, it's interesting that you pointed those out because those are actually the things that I really enjoyed about it. So, like, yeah,
Yeah,
the two different um, how this movie feels. Again, yeah, using from Dust Till Dawn as a reference, how they're both they kind of seem like two movies in one. I actually like that because that kind of switches it up, right? It's not because it's something that's out of the norm, right? That's not typically done with movies, and it's probably for that reason. I think there's probably most likely there's other people like you who feel that way, who just kind of want one consistent theme or genre or type of movie within that movie, right? They don't want to have it switch it up. And so, yeah,
yeah.
I can see that. I
And
can understand
I met some people who watched Sinners.
that.
They
Mhm.
watched the film and then they watch the trailer of the movie, and the movie kind of paints it to be like a horror type of movie, right?
Yeah.
At least from what I recall. And the people that I talked to about they watched this film, they did think it was a full on like horror, like from beginning to end. So they were kind of disappointed that the
Oh,
first
okay.
half. Now for me, I figured it would be some kind of a mixture. I just didn't think it will be that divided when it comes to
Yeah.
the tone of the film. Like the type
Yeah.
of story that they're telling. Right, the tone of the horror elements, it's in there because at the beginning of the movie you see Sammy, parks the vehicle and goes into the church, and then he's like covered
Yeah.
in like
Yeah.
blood and stuff like that. So there's
Hmm.
that horror component in there, and you get like a little bit of flashbacks of like the vampire stuff or whatever. But it wasn't like as much. But I did know that some people were a bit disappointed because they were expecting something else, and then the horror stuff wasn't until the end. Um, and there was something I was gonna say, but now I completely forgot about it now. But that was it.
Maybe it had to do with talk about two different movies or the rewatchability or from Dust Till Dawn references. No, anything
Um,
not coming
I
back.
don't I don't remember.
Okay,
I
all
don't
right. Well,
remember.
let me know if it comes back to you. But yeah, and yeah, I can definitely see that, and that's happened to me a few times where you watch a movie trailer. One of the ones I can think of, for instance, was Looper. I think I had, if you
Oh
recall,
yeah.
Looper with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Bruce Willis. Watching the trailer, it made it out to be one movie, and then in a good way, there ended up being another type of, like, I didn't see it going in a direction I would have thought, which
Oh
I
okay.
really enjoyed. I was really surprised, towards the end when it flipped it, and it kind of when it showed the main focus and made the um, I guess the key element in that movie was the child, right? Trying to stop that child from
Hmm.
becoming evil or going down the wrong path. And that was the whole premise. And they made it seem like it was more about Bruce Willis and Joseph Gordon-Levitt. And so that was really cool. Another one in a bad way that ended up kind of being portrayed differently was Madam Web. I know so
Ah,
that one got a lot of flack, and Sony kind of hyped it up to make people think it was going to be about the Spider Women because they kind of emphasized their scenes in the trailers. You're like, oh damn, here we go, and yeah, it's hardly that. If anything, they only got what, like a minute, maybe even less of screen time of those the
I,
ladies in their spider outfits in their
I,
superhero
I
costumes.
I have very low expectations from that movie. I didn't. I didn't even consider that. It was just like this trailer doesn't look good. I'll watch it because I watch a lot of
Yeah,
things, um but yeah, it's I was not expecting, or I was expecting it to be kind of bad, but um
yeah.
the other
Yeah,
thing
that's
that the other thing that I was now I think I remember now what it is when I
okay. Go.
mentioned the trailers. So the other thing is I know this happens sometimes with movies when they do when they release the trailers of films.
Mhm.
For this one, in the trailer they showed that that Stack turns into a vampire. Like you see that in the trailer. And to me that would have
Hmm.
been like a kind of like a bigger reveal. Have we learned that, okay, so he got bit, he's one of the vampires now. I knew that because I saw the trailer before even watching the movie. So I wonder if that kind of like impacted the just a little bit when it comes to like the surprise component of it. But yeah, sometimes they just release some trailers that just reveal too much, and that was a good example of that.
I see. So yeah, I went back and to confirm because it was bothering me. And I, again, I should have done this. So apologies, I didn't have this. I should have had this straight, but I'm got confused myself. But so Stack, did a quick search. So Stack and Mary were the ones that survived, the vampires that lived,
Mhm.
and they're the ones who went on. And so
Smoke is the
Smoke
one
was,
that died.
yeah, Smoke was the one that died, and Stack is the one
The
that
one
became a
that the
vampire.
wife, the estranged wife, right? Smoke.
Uh, what's that?
Smoke is the one that had the estranged wife, Annie.
Yes, the one that had the child that died,
Hmm.
the baby.
Right,
Yeah,
right. Smoke. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Smoke. That was Smoke. Yeah, is that what you had said earlier?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. Just confirming. Thanks for letting me know. Yeah, I just want to make sure I got that right because it's
Yeah,
still missing.
because I wrote notes because it's like both of their names start with the letter S, so it's like
Yes. Yeah.
Smoke Stack. Like I
Yeah.
can tell who they are based on seeing them, how they dress and how they talk, right? But then
Yeah.
the names are the ones that I get mixed up, so I'm
Exactly.
confused.
Yeah.
So
Same.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Same. That's I
mhm.
should have done that a little. So apologies again, but yeah. So it so going back again, just kind of summarizing the negatives there on the going back to what you mentioned about the rewatchability or the
Mhm.
replayability. I've already said I've seen it twice and I plan on watching it more just because I enjoyed that. I loved pretty much everything about it except for those things I pointed out, the minor nitpicks. But again, it's still one of those movies I can always go back to. And the same for From Dusk Till Dawn, right? I felt the same way, and that's still one of the
Mhm.
movies that I own. It's my collection, so I see this being no different. It's definitely going to be in my collection again for the music aspect of it too. So speaking of, with that, if you don't have any more negatives or cons to go on this movie, we can go on with the pros or the good.
Okay.
All right. So, yeah, and there's a whole lot of good. Again, we just obviously touched on it in the beginning. So, I think the highlight of this for a lot of people is going to be the music, and for me, it's no different, right? I love the music aspect of it. I love how they incorporate it into the movie. I love when movies do that, just because I also love music a lot. That's kind of one of my other hobbies, in addition to movies, video
Oh, okay.
games, TV, figures. You can see figures. So yeah, just music. I love all aspects, all genres of music. Yeah, I don't discriminate. Just I keep them open minded. I'm always trying to introduce myself to music, and so yeah. And I mentioned "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou." I also love that movie and the music and the soundtrack of that movie as well. That's one where was listening to the soundtrack after I've seen the movie, like a lot of others, multiple times. That's when I can just hit play and listen from top to bottom. I think this is going to be another one. They have it on Apple Music, I believe, and so I started listening to there. The only thing with that cut is I don't know if that's the official album, but they on that soundtrack, on that version of Apple Music, at least the one I listened to, they still have quotes from the movie. So it seems like they just took
Oh,
the versions of the
film.
music straight from the movie. They just put it
Mhm.
into a file, and so they still
Oh,
have some of the dialogue that's in there that's going on for certain movies that's going on in the background, which I don't mind, but I would prefer to just have the whole song by itself, with no dialogue, just so I can listen to the music.
I wouldn't
And
like that.
so yeah,
So,
yeah,
if I'm gonna listen to the music, I just want the music.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
or I'll play the movie if I want to get all of it.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I thought. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if that's just like an early version or if they're going to come out with an actual final clean, quote unquote, a clean version of the soundtrack with all that dialogue removed. I hope they do
Mm.
because yeah, I just want to listen to that. But yeah, I really like the blues. Especially, there's a lot of blues musicians that I listen to, a lot of blues albums. Of course, you have to be in the mood for it because it's the blues. So, at least in my opinion, anyways, some people who just listen to the blues nonstop. But so that's a genre that I really like as well, and that I incorporated in here. But so yeah, just the way that Ryan Coogler. I know this was important to him. Also, he'd mentioned he
Mhm.
had an uncle who was really into blues music. That was one of his pastimes. In addition to drinking whiskey and listening to the radio, Ryan Coogler said his uncle also listened to blues music, and so that was an inspiration for him for this movie as well.
It's a lot of that in this movie. So
Yeah, yeah, a lot of drinking. Yeah, a lot of blues music or just music in general, and then incorporating the different aspects of it. So yeah,
oh
the
yeah.
music. I mentioned the cinematography. Also, again, I got to mention her name. The cinematographer was Autumn Durald Arkapaw. I believe that's not sure if that's how you pronounce her name. I apologize if I butchered that, but yeah, a lot of beautiful shots in this movie.
Yeah.
Uh, I went to go see it, so I saw it first in just a standard screening, standard screen. The second time I went to go see it was in IMAX, and so that was yeah, because for one, I try to go see movies in IMAX when I can if I feel like they're worth it, and this one got a lot of hype on it being partially filmed in IMAX. Right, there was
Mm.
some scenes, some shots where they actually used, I think it was 65 millimeter film, but they have some projectors and IMAX projectors that are 70 millimeter, and so there were certain theaters that were actually displaying it in 70 millimeter. I unfortunately couldn't. Uh, the theater that I went to wasn't. They weren't showing it. The IMAX was showing it in 70 millimeters, more like digital projection, but still, it
Oh
was pretty
yeah.
close. And so, but honestly, I either way, I didn't think it was worth it to see it in IMAX because it was kind
Mhm.
of more. Let me see if I can bring up some slides here that kind of show like this, for instance. Here, in IMAX for this film, anyways, I didn't think it added to the movie or certain scenes that where they actually used IMAX to increase the aspect ratio. So, for instance, here you would just see more of the sky on the upper portion of this scene here, and then more of obviously like the sky on the left and right. So there's a lot of beautiful shots like this, but I don't think having it in IMAX enhanced or added to the the actual like the scene itself or whatever was going on. It just had more of the environment, which is still beautiful. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like I wouldn't have needed to pay extra or go out of my way to see it just to see more of that. And it's not really a fault of the okay, how should I? It's more of like a product of the environment they're in, right? The time saying because it doesn't really lend itself to being an IMAX in my opinion. So for
Oh.
comparing it to like for instance, I went to go see The Dark Knight
Oh
in
yeah.
IMAX, right? And so you have a lot of more of those like those city shots that are kind of
Yeah.
expanded and that kind of adds to that feeling of like the aerial view of the city, or even
That
Dark
was
Knight
awesome.
Rises, right? Yeah, where they had that plane scene with Bane where he's up in the that plane hijacking,
Hmm.
and that was an IMAX, and that just added to a little more realism of being in the sky with the plane and just kind of immersed you a little more. But here it's just more of a beautiful image, a beautiful environment again, which is not a bad thing. I'm just saying for me that wasn't a
See,
necessity.
I didn't watch this in IMAX. I went through the
Mhm.
AMC Dolby. So was it the entire film that it did have the aspect ratio for it, or were just certain shots? Because you mentioned The Dark Knight, and I remember The Dark Knight. I watched that in IMAX
Mhm.
because Nolan was using the IMAX cameras, but I know they were more limited then in 2008.
Yeah,
So there were certain shots that were used for the IMAX cameras, but then the rest of the film was just the regular, the way that was originally shot, without the IMAX cameras. So was this one like the whole film, or just like parts of it that were like certain shots that you could tell was, oh, that's a that was an IMAX camera a shot.
yeah, it was only certain scenes. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, that was kind of like something like The Dark Knight, similar, right? You would have in a majority of the film, you kind of see the black segments on the
The
top
black
and
bars.
bottom. Yeah,
Yeah,
and then then you could tell then it just expands when you see the IMAX scenes. So
yeah,
yeah, it's only certain scenes.
because when I watched The Dark Knight and they had the IMAX cameras, the opening shot, like just the opening shot of The Dark
Yeah,
Knight, he's using the IMAX camera, so you can tell right away
yeah,
because as soon as that shot opens and you see the shot, you feel like you're like flying over the
yes,
skyline and stuff like that because it's
yeah,
so huge. And
yeah.
I think I like made a
The bank
noise
robber,
when
right?
when the shot opened in the Dark Knight, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh shit!"
Yo, shit,
so,
yeah.
so I thought that was cool. Like that has still been the best IMAX screening that I've seen.
Mhm.
Still, even I've seen other movies that were supposedly shot with IMAX cameras, but it just doesn't live up to that shot. So that's why I was wondering if it's kind of like this one, because like this, I could imagine to look amazing. This shot right here in IMAX cameras. But like I said, I didn't watch it in IMAX, and that's why I didn't know if it was like the whole movie or just part of the movies. But
Yeah, no, yeah, it's certain scenes. Yeah, and thanks again for reminding me on that. But um, it, yeah, again, like this is there's other examples where it's kind of real. I think there's like more of the juke joint settings. I think there's certain
mm,
parts of that barn or of that building, where they expand and it goes to the IMAX ratio, but it's just
oh,
more of the
okay.
building. I don't know, it just seemed more grounded, right? This is obviously everything is more grounded because of the time, the time. It's a period piece, and it's kind of
Hmm.
more grounded over. Well, I don't want to say grounded because there's vampires in it, but it's just like,
I know what you meant. I know
yeah,
what you
you see
mean.
what I'm
But
saying? Yeah, you see what I'm saying. So
mm,
again, to me, I didn't think it was worth it, but to each their own. For those of you who may be wondering, whether it's worth it, if it's worth it to go see an IMAX, and I did see they actually re-released it, right? So they had initially
yeah,
released it on IMAX, and
they
then they
expanded.
released it again. And I
Yeah.
mentioned this too. Speaking of IMAX, I know we're on the good, but I brought this up to you guys also that this was for this movie. This was the first time that I saw showings of a movie in IMAX that were listed as sold out. Right, so I went online to buy my tickets, and then the day that I chose, there was, or even some days around before and after, and then the certain times it actually said sold out, and that was the first time I had seen any
Hmm.
IMAX movie, which is the theater I go to anyways, that listed sold out. It was crazy. So it means all seats were sold, and some of those in an IMAX theater, those seats up in the front row, are not the most. Those aren't the most. Those are favorite ones. Basically, they're not the most popular. And
Definitely
but
not.
yeah, if it's sold out, that means they were all filled, and so that's really crazy to have seen that. And so a lot of hype on this, and it seemed like some people enjoyed it, or maybe that was their first time and they just heard the hype and they went to go see it. So yeah, I'm curious to
Mm.
see what the majority was, if they enjoyed it, if they thought it was worth it. But either way, like I said, beautiful movie. I still enjoyed it. I just didn't think it was necessary to see it in IMAX. So that all that to go back to say, cinematography was just beautiful, well done.
Hmm.
There's
Hmm.
some shots as well that we to kind of highlight that I thought was really cool. That kind of the long shot of um, the Chow family, right? I think it was Bo and
Oh yeah.
Grace, the Chinese. I don't know, I can't remember if they were immigrants, but they were there. They owned the grocery stores, right? And so um, see, like now I'm gonna try to get it right. So Stack. I want to say the one with the here. Let me go back. Let me just go back here to the the
Yeah.
photo.
So Smoke is the one that has the estranged wife. So the one that
Oh
so
yeah,
the one that uses a Tommy gun at the end. That's Smoke.
right. Yeah. Okay. So
Mhm.
Stack, he was the one that went in and went to go hire everybody, right, and get everything prepped for the juke joint. Right? He was a businessman,
Yeah. Who
right?
got what's his name? Delta Delta
Slim.
Slim. Delta
Yeah.
Slim.
Yeah. Yeah.
Delroy
So
Lindo, yeah.
yeah. So Stack here, yeah, he went to get everything prepped, and he went to the grocery store, right? And he was talking to Bo Chow, I think his name is, and I forget the actor's name. I should have that here, but he talks to him, and then he mentions to his daughter, "Hey, go get your mother." And then
Mhm.
it follows, the camera just follows behind her. She walks out from behind the cashier to go across the street to the other
I like
store
that
right
shot.
across the street, because they owned, yeah, both stores, which was really cool. And I'll come back to that. point in a minute, but yeah, gets her mother, and then she comes back and walks back across, and the camera's following her as she's going towards the camera. So that whole like, I want to say it was a long shot because it seemed seamless, but that was really cool. So just a lot of stuff like that, just really nice touches to it, and I always enjoy when they do that. But one thing I didn't notice on that, so that was actually, I guess, based on grocery store that actually had some truth in history. There was, I guess, some stores in Mississippi that were like that were owned by a Chinese family, or at least Chinese immigrants, or people who owned those stores. And then it had something like that, and they catered to each one of the both the whites and the blacks at the time. So they had two separate stores, and they were across from each other, and they can only, it was segregated basically. And so I didn't realize that until I started reading up on that movie. And so and I didn't pick that up in the movie. I didn't catch that in the movie. I didn't see that there were only, whites shopping at one store and the black shopping in the other store. And until I read it, and I'm like, oh, okay, crap. Now I have to go back and check that out. I didn't catch that. Did you catch that at all when you were watching the movie?
Well, what I caught is that they have the Chinese, they have their stores, right? When you said they go back to one store to another based on, if it's a black store, white store, whatever the case. But what I did notice is, and it's been like on memes everywhere about the tamale shop, um, the tamale shop, and they were saying like, why is there a tamale shop in Mississippi in the 1930s, right? So I kind of looked into that,
Yeah.
and for what I found out is just like, well, because in the South they were still doing the cotton field stuff, right? So they
Yeah.
obviously, after the Civil War, they're not going to have free labor, right? So then they
Yeah.
ended up getting immigrants who would do that for very cheap,
Right.
and that's why they had a lot of Chinese there. Well, not a lot, but they had some Chinese there,
Yeah.
Hispanic or Mexicans there, and
Yeah.
then they had those little shops of the tamale shop, right? And then obviously we see the Chinese little grocery store there. So I thought that was kind of interesting because I never really thought that you'll see that in Mississippi. But
Yeah. Same.
even when I saw it in the movie, even if that was like kind of new to me,
Mhm.
I kind of accepted it like, oh, this got to be accurate because I
Yeah.
wouldn't think that they would add it just for just some random reason, right?
Mhm.
So like it's just some information that some of us don't quite know, right? So that was cool to see. Um, but yeah, I just kind of like things like that when it comes to like films and movies and things like that. Is I feel like I picked up and learned certain things throughout life because of films that I see. Is like, oh,
Yeah.
this happened during this era or this happened, and then okay, well, let me look that up. How accurate is that? And then sometimes it's not, and in this case, it was. So it's kind of cool when they show things like this.
Yeah.
You just learn things when even watching in a movie like Sinners about vampires. You just
Yeah.
learn things. So I think that's kind of a cool thing there.
Yeah. No, yeah, for sure. I definitely enjoy that also. And like I said, doing some research on this, and you kind of learn some things along the way, and some of the background behind it too. So of course the music, there's a guitar, the infamous guitar that we were talking about Sammy playing.
Hmm.
This whole, I think this scene got a lot of praise where, he starts playing, and then it kind of just does like a slow-mo, and it goes through all the different genres, music of the past, and then it kind of goes around to music of modern music, music of the future, I guess, in reference to their time period. And so that, it kind of just does like this whole thing, and it incorporates all these different genres of music and time periods. It was really cool. Um, and then, so music, the horror aspect of it, of course, I love as a horror fan. I guess that was another thing. I guess I didn't really touch on, but a minor nitpick. I would have liked to see more of like the battling between the people here and the vampires. It seemed like, they just all got wiped out pretty quick, which, I mean, they're not really, the people here that are enjoying themselves, the humans, I'll just say the humans, the non-vampires, they're not
Hmm.
fighters, right? They get wiped out quick. And so that's understandable. The vampires are just more aggressive. They just took them over. But I personally would have liked to seen more fighting. But again, I'm thinking more of like From Dusk Till Dawn style, how like they kind of went a little more
Right.
crazy, but different crowd, right? They were more like, they were kind of more there were more fighters, right? You had like bikers and just criminals and things like that. So I
Mm.
guess that kind of made this, having them not fight back as much kind of was played to their characters and who they were. So that made sense. So I understand why. Um, but yeah, loved the horror aspect of it. And then the kind of inclusion, the diversity of just the different cultures and the different nationalities or ethnicities they have in here. I just love it all, how they just incorporate not only through music but just the culture itself. Because you had Remick, the main vampire. It seemed like he was from somewhere in from Europe. I don't know if it was either Scottish or Irish. Um, I guess I could have. I think it was Irish. I think I had read
Oh,
somewhere that
Remick, the main
yeah,
villain,
Remick.
right? Oh, yeah, it's
Yeah,
Irish.
yeah. Okay, that's
Jack
what I, that's
O'Connell.
what I thought.
Yeah.
And so like the music, he was doing his own jig. He had his own song that he was singing, and they were kind of all dancing around him. That was really cool. I enjoyed that as well. So it's like not only just different genres of music, but music from different cultures and incorporating it all. So it was just done really well as far as incorporating it into the story. And the main, yeah, and again, just a testament to the writing, man. Just how one thing that stuck out to me was the irony in becoming a vampire. I don't know if you want to call it an irony, but it's something that Remick himself was kind of, he was using to kind of persuade the others that hadn't turned yet, the non-vampires, saying, come join us. Aren't you tired of being treated differently you know,
Mm.
as far as like between the blacks and whites, like the whole segregation, discrimination there. Aren't you get tired of having things taken from you or not owning, what you deserve and things like that. And, you kind of see what he's referring to as them being vampires. They see themselves as just all equal, right? They're just all, there's no
Yep.
race, there's no nationality. They're just all
Right.
vampires. They're all after one goal. And I thought that was like really interesting, right? Because they're supposed to be evil. And then I think Annie, Smoke's wife, or his estranged wife, right? She
Mm-hmm.
calls him Hates, I think, initially. I'm trying to figure out what she was calling, but I think she was referring to them as Hates initially, but then she's like, no, these aren't Hates, they're vampires.
Oh,
I
okay.
think that's what she was calling them, but basically it's to say they're evil. But even this evil group, right, they have some sort of unity, they have some sort of equality among them, and they kind of treat each other equally, as opposed to the humans. Again, we see, you mentioned like the KKK was still in effect, even though they're supposed to be gone. There's still discrimination
Yeah.
going on.
Segregation
But
still and all that
yeah,
stuff. And
exactly. So I thought that whole, like, that contrast there was an interesting.
it was appealing to become a
Yeah, it
vampire
was
at
appealing.
that point,
Yeah,
right? So it's like, oh,
yeah,
just become a vampire then. So
yeah. It makes it easier. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. And I want to say that was intentional, right, to have that thought,
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure that's what it
that
was.
thought provoking theme in there. But
Mhm.
yeah. So I mean, I talked a lot, so I'll pause there and I'll give you a chance to go. I don't want to take everything. I'll leave some meat on the bone for you. What were all the goods that you, or the pros in this movie that you enjoy, that you really liked?
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, the performances, the characters, that they all seem to be pretty rounded. Especially when you see certain horror movies, they don't spend too much time on each character, like if they have some kind of a backstory or anything like
Yeah,
that. And all of these characters, especially like the main ones, they have some kind of, even if it's minimal, we know some kind of struggle that they have, or they know some kind of a circumstance that they're in,
yeah,
so that when the vampires come, you're like, okay, so this person, was doing this, or they're doing this because of that reason, and things like that. So and they were able to do it with a very minimal amount of screen time. We have the Roy Lindo character, who's what is the guy's name? Delta Slim. Delta Slim. So
yeah. Delta Slim.
he's
Yep.
like a drunk pianist, right? So they
Yeah,
hired him, and he just went over there. And then we have Haley Steinfeld's character, Mary.
Mary. Yeah,
Yes. So there's a backstory between her and Stack, right? Stack.
stack.
So
Stack. Yep.
um so
I'm
the
getting
so
it
there
now.
so there's that, right? So there's that situation. Then of course Smoke and the estranged wife, and the backstory with that they lost a child and things like that.
Yeah,
That they're both World War I veterans, and then they went to Chicago, and I believe they worked for what, Al Capone, I believe, right, during the Prohibition era, is what I'm guessing.
I
Um,
think, yeah.
yeah, I think that's what they mentioned, something like that. But so there's a bunch of like different things going on with the characters that they kind of implemented there for the backstories
Hmm.
and things like that. And let me see what else here. And then actually, Haley Steinfeld playing Mary.
Yeah.
This is the first movie because the first time that I quote unquote met Hailey Steinfeld was in that True Grit remake.
Oh wow, you met her. Okay.
So no, I don't mean like physically. I mean like the first time I
Oh,
saw
okay. I was
her.
gonna say.
I mean
Okay,
like
gotcha. Yeah, I see what
that's
you're
what I'm like quote unquote met her. Like
saying. Oh, I see what
in
you're saying.
on screen. Like the first time I saw her in
Yeah,
anything, she was
yeah,
she was
yeah.
like a little girl in True Grit.
Hmm.
So even in the Hawkeye series, I
Yeah,
still kind of see her like a young girl.
I see. Yeah,
But in this movie, I see her differently. Like, okay, so this is like a woman, in a horror film. Like, I don't see, the girl from
right.
True Grit anymore. So that was like the
Yeah,
first time that
yeah,
I kind of see her like that.
yeah, yeah.
So that was pretty cool. And then we have Wunmi Mosaku who plays Annie, Smoke's estranged wife, Annie, right? So that was cool to see her. Like I didn't recognize her at first, but then I was like, oh, that's the girl from Loki. She's the agent,
That's
the
right. Yeah.
Hunter B-15, something like that.
Mhm.
So she was in that. The main lead vampire, Jack O'Connell playing Remick. He was pretty
Mhm.
cool in the film. That was cool to see there. Let me see. We talked about the cinematography, which is beautiful looking, the direction, story wise. Based on without these story structure, the issues that I have with that. The music, of course. Oh, and yes, this is the one that I meant to mention earlier. That shot in the what do they call it? The juke joint? Is that what they're calling it? When
Yeah.
they're
The Juke Joint.
all when Sammy's playing the music, and then you see that shot of multiple eras in music.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Like it just keeps going back and forth, and then you see like a bunch of different musicians from different
Yeah.
eras, of different countries, and things like that.
Yeah.
That was awesome. I haven't seen anything like that, and like that alone, for the direction on that, or that idea, the cinematography, and all that whole shot right there, that's
Hmm.
like Oscar worthy on that alone.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I thought that was cool. That was a beautiful shot.
It was. Yeah.
Let me see if there's anything else positives. Oh, remember how I asked you about the snake? Um,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I still, I still think I saw the shining of the eyes of that rattlesnake. I could be just like
Yeah.
imagining shit, but I swear to God, I saw that. But
Oh no, yeah, I did
but
see that. Yeah, his
oh,
eyes
okay,
were shining, but I didn't really
oh,
take that
okay.
as anything. I just thought like the sunlight or something was just kind of like reflecting off of him. But
Oh,
yeah,
I
how
see,
did
I
you
see.
interpret that?
I mean, to me, it sounded like it's a metaphor. It's kind of like how the vampires had the shining eyes, right? So they all had the
Yeah.
little shining eyes. The
Yep.
snake had the shining eyes. That was before they knew about the vampires. So to me, that was kind of like a metaphor, like a foreshadowing type of thing.
I see.
Because
Okay.
you have like the rattlesnake that kind of like surprises them, like he just kind of like pops out of nowhere,
Yeah.
and then they're kind of like surprised and they want to like stab it, right? Or one
Yeah.
of them does, one of the brothers does it.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like a sign of a like an unexpected like evil type of thing. It's kind of what I'm getting. And then we got the vampires that they did encounter, and then I
Yeah.
think one of the brothers stab Remick at one point, kind of like he stabs the snake at one point. I think I remember something about that, but
Oh yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I knew there was something going on with that rattlesnake, but my main focus, like, what the snakes are like, or the snake, the eyes of the snake is like the shining eyes, just like the vampires. So
Of the
some kind of
vampire.
like
Oh, okay.
some kind of
Yeah.
message going on. So that was kind of my thing
Yeah.
with that. So that was cool. Um, Let me see. I already talked about the performances, and I'll get into the my predictions of the Oscar nominations. Later on, or whenever you would like me to do that. But that's
Yeah.
about it, though.
Okay. Yeah. No, I definitely agree. Into what on we can definitely cover the Oscar portion here in a little bit. We'll definitely make time for that. We're almost done wrapping up here, but to go back to what you were saying about, yeah, Haley Steinfeld, man. So overall, all strong performances. I wouldn't be surprised if there's, I forget how the Oscars work, if you can have multiple supporting actors or actresses from the same movie being nominated, but yeah, there's a lot of strong performances here all around. Not to mention not just Michael B. Jordan, of course, but yeah, all believable. Again, testament to writing. They were all kind of either relatable or they were all interesting to some degree. And again, I don't know if it's just the time period or their setting kind of added to that. It helped with that, but yeah, it was really good. And then, but Haley Steinfeld, man, just talk about a contrasting role, like something that she hadn't. Granted, I haven't seen her in all of her movies. True Grit being one of them. I heard that was a standout role for her, but I, seen her in Bumblebee, Hawkeye, Pitch Perfect, too. So
Oh,
compared to just
I never seen Pitch Perfect.
no,
So
yeah, yeah, that was again music. One of those movies I really enjoyed, but the music aspect of there was really awesome. But yeah, anyways, the compared to those, yeah, this was just like, yeah, this is her mature role. I think this is gonna open up a lot more opportunities, a lot more roles and opportunities for her in the future, because not only did she nail it, but it was just crazy to see her that aggressive, that and that kind of more sexually driven, and overall, yeah, I agree, this is a very sexual, horny movie, I guess some people have called it. But you kind of, I mean, I didn't really, I didn't see that. Well, I would say it wasn't expected, but it being a vampire movie, it wasn't totally out of the norm because, as we
right.
recall from previous older vampire movies, they have some of that seduction.
Oh yeah.
Vampires
Oh
are
yeah.
usually seductive and just by nature. Think of like Fright Night from the 80s. I think it was the 80s.
Hmm.
Bram Stoker's Dracula that had some sexual elements as well. And so,
Yeah.
there's a lot of scenes in there that are pretty graphic as well. And so, if for those of you that are familiar with the horror movies or vampire movies like that, then that it seems to be a pretty common theme. But I just wasn't expecting it in this one. That it seems like movies nowadays, modern vampire movies, I should say, just don't take that aspect, or they don't emphasize that aspect as much of vampires, but they did in this one. So I was like, wow. So all that to say, yeah, Haley Steinfeld and just everyone else just impressed me with that performance. Already getting memed. So in
Right.
addition to like all other like the sexual other tones and aspects of this movie here. So yeah, this scene right here, this is when they finally have that showdown with the vampires. That was another cool scene where Grace Chow or Cho here on the right, she was just fed up and she was like, you know what, just bring it. And she
Yeah.
just invited them all in. I was like, no,
Come
what are you
in.
doing?
Right.
Yeah, it's like no, but she just like, there's always that breaking point. There's that character in those horror movies where they just kind of, they're fed up and they
Yeah.
just make
There's always
something.
one, right? There's always one
Yeah,
that
they do something
fucks it
stupid
up.
for the rest of everybody else who's trying
Yeah.
to survive. I was
Yeah.
like, ah. So it was one. Yeah, you feel for her though, right? She just was worried about her daughter, and so I get it. And she just wanted to do something. She was just getting impatient and frustrated and all these emotions. So yeah, I understand. But again, going back to a testament to the writing and her character, how well it was written. She just portrayed it very well. Let's see here. I think for the most part, we covered a lot of the good. I mean, like I said, a lot of the good here. A lot of things I really enjoyed about this. Um, I'm trying to think. Delroy Lindo obviously was another. The comedy too, man. It's like the humor in this one. I found myself kind of laughing out loud in the theaters for a lot of the dialogue in here. So a lot of the dialogue was pretty clever and catchy. Going back to Michael B. Jordan in both of his characters, both Smoke and Stack, they had some clever quips and one-liners and witty comebacks, and it had me laughing. And just some of the stuff that they talked about. Even Haley Steinfeld again was just, she didn't meant there, those lines of dialogue that aren't meant to be funny, but just the context and how they're said or what she said. It's
Yeah.
just really funny, man. So yeah, it's like kind of surprising. So a lot of a good quotes in this one. And what a comedy is another genre that I really like. And so again, another aspect in this that they involved, like you were talking about, just that mix of genres in this one movie. So
Hmm.
yeah, but anything else that you want to mention or discuss as elements in this movie?
Trying to remember if there was anything else. Yeah, so I mean, like a lot of the rules of vampires were pretty much there, right?
Yeah,
Um, even which there was a scene in there when they were gonna have everyone like what was it? They were gonna eat something like some kind of garlic
garlic.
thing,
Yeah, clove of garlic. Yeah.
and then so I think one of the guys didn't want to do it. Who I forgot who it was who didn't want to
No, it
do
was
it.
Perline. She didn't want to do it.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah, and I
The
was like,
girl
okay,
here on the
so
left, on the far left.
oh, okay, okay, yes, and then she didn't want to eat it. And I was like,
Yeah,
you gotta eat it if unless you're a fucking vampire. I mean,
yeah. She's
Uh,
like, this is stupid. Like, why are we doing it? Yeah, yeah,
and then the whole thing with cornbread about trying to like get invited in and shit. And it was like, wait,
yeah,
why? You've been here all fucking day. So it's like,
yeah,
why do you need to be invited all of a sudden? So I thought that was kind of funny.
yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
and,
Yeah,
and sure enough, he was the vampire at that point. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And
so
again, that was another thing that I like too. Just small details like that, like things that you would normally ask that seem out of place, and not a lot of movies do this as far as like including like paying that much attention to the characters. I know
mhm.
sometimes they get some writers get a little lazy with their characters, and in other movies they probably would have just allowed them in. I don't know if it's laziness or just maybe they have a different approach, but here it's just more relatable. They're Annie and Smoke. They're kind of thinking like, yeah, like you were saying, like, why do you need permission? You were just coming in and out of this whole
Yeah,
time.
all day
Yeah,
for the last few hours, you've been coming in and out.
yeah. So I
It's
like
like
how they
all of
had
a
it like,
sudden, it's like, where's my invitation? I was like,
yeah, exactly, exactly. And so, um, yeah, I mean, I agree. Again, just the dialogue, some of the situations, the wittiness in there. Just
What did you think of the post credit scene?
oh, the final one.
Hmm.
That was I love that, honestly. I had read somewhere that some people didn't think, they either didn't like it or they think it was necessary or wasn't worth staying in. But again, to each their own. I personally, again, loving music and just having Sammy or Miles Canton, I think that's who like who's the actor
Yeah,
who
Miles
played
Canton.
Sammy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Miles Canton. Yeah, um, just having that scene where he just plays. It's just him playing his guitar and singing. Yeah, I loved it, man. I'm glad I stayed, and I enjoyed it. So that's one of those songs I think I'd probably be listening to when I listen to the soundtrack. But yeah, what about you? What did you think about it?
I guess I wasn't that surprised about it, but I thought it worked. I like the little epilogue, you know, wrap things up a bit here, right? So it's kind of
Yeah.
like, you could continue doing this, the whole success with the music, like you can continue doing this as a vampire for like ever, type of thing. So that was like a nice touch there, but yeah, I mean, I liked it, I enjoyed it. As
Oh, are you
far as
talking
like
about the,
any,
the mid-credit scene where Stack and Mary go visit him when he's older?
oh yeah,
Is that
that was the, oh, am I mixing up the mid and the post credit scenes?
Yeah, there
I'm
was one at the very end. Like the post-credit was the one like that I was referring to, where it's just Sammy playing, where like younger Sammy, where he's playing the guitar by himself
Oh,
at
no, no,
the
no.
end.
Well, I was referring to the
The
when the
mid-credit scene.
vampire when Stack and Mary show up.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's the one. Yeah, I might have mixed up the mid and the post credit scene, but that's what I was
yeah,
referring to there. But um yeah, so again, that's the one that I was referring to there. But yeah.
okay, yeah. I again, when I saw that, that's when we find out that they survived, and then they go back and tell the story, and I was a little, I don't know, I was kind of mixed on that. I mean, it was cool that to see, like you said, that epilogue to show that Sammy's still playing, and that was who's portrayed by Buddy Guy, I believe, right? It was an actual blues musician that
Oh,
played
the
him. So
older
that was
version. I mean, the older version. The
yeah,
the older
yeah, the older version of
yeah,
him.
the older guy.
Yeah,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
yeah, exactly. So I thought that was really cool that they included him, and then that was awesome touch. And so you could see he had his own bar or his own club, I think it was,
Hmm.
and they come in. You can tell it's a different time period. They come in. They were wearing like '90s clothes. I think it was right. Stack and
I
Mary. They were
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I think it was 90s, right?
in the
Pretty sure it
'90s.
was 90s, like 92 or
So
something.
yeah, and um, So I mean, it was yeah, it was cool to see Sammy, but then when I saw Stackman, I was like, what? I don't know about that. And that's something yeah, I don't know. I still don't. I'm not too sure. I agree with that, but it was still
Oh, okay.
okay. I was accepting of it.
So that was like a negative thing for you then.
Yeah, like I said, that was a negative. That how they treated that, how he just let him go. If they
Oh,
would have
okay.
approached it another way, like if they would have been alive because of another reason, like they just got away or something happened, like I don't know, they were able to get out just before they all got burned.
Oh, okay.
Then I think I would have been fine with it. But the fact that that at that point, that's when they said right that he made a promise to his brother Smoke that I wouldn't go near you. I wouldn't
Mm.
he would let me live as long as I didn't come after you, type of thing. And so yeah, that was the reason why they were there is what I didn't like. But the fact that they were there, that scene was cool. I liked it. I enjoyed it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And then also I forgot to mention another big significance of this movie. Kind of like has a meta aspect in that Ryan Coogler. One of the things he went into making this movie is had he wanted to make sure that he owned this movie, right? So it's
Oh.
not only to go along with the theme of the movie within the movie itself about just like colored people owning and coming out of that whole being freed, right? Not being slaves anymore, being able to be independent and be their own, and getting their own rights, and kind of having that go beyond and beyond outside of that in Ryan Coogler wanting to actually own the film itself in that aspect of it, just kind of have that what am I trying to say here, that significance, right? He wanted to actually like have that carry over to the movie itself, and so he made that one of the conditions in making this. So after, and that actually went through, so Warner Brothers agreed, and so after 25 years, Ryan
Yeah.
Coogler will own the movie rights to this movie. And so I think I'd read he got like something about like first points on a final cut, a say in the final cut of the movie. But in addition to that, yeah, after 25 years, he'll own it, and it's only this movie specifically, which makes sense, right? Again, he had a lot of personal connections to this, and it meant
Oh,
a lot
yeah.
to him, a lot of personal reasons. And so I thought that was really cool, really awesome, really inspirational, and that he was able to do that, and that they Warner Brothers, agreed. And now this movie, after 25 years, will be his. It's just his creation. He you can tell too. There's a lot of love that went into it, and there's like certain aspects that you can kind of see from everybody, right? And so, yeah, I don't know. What were your thoughts on that when you heard about that?
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, we've seen some of that with some of the other uh films, like I think it was Friday the 13th and A Nightmare on Elm Street. That, but I think that has something to do with not just some kind of agreement with the studio. I think it's something to do with some kind of law or something like that, where it's like it's been after
Oh, okay.
40 years, the writer gets the rights back to it, or something to the effect. I don't remember the details of it, but like I know there was an issue with I think it was, who was it? Was it LeBron James who wanted to remake Friday the 13th or something like that?
Oh, really?
And
I don't remember
yeah,
that.
not that he would direct it or anything, but like he
Yeah,
wanted to like produce it and stuff
produce
like
it.
that.
Yeah, yeah,
But I think there was some kind of issue with now it's not just a studio. Now you have to deal with the original writer or something to that effect. And I think the Wes Craven estate, I think the estate now owns A Nightmare on Elm Street. And that's probably
oh,
why we haven't seen a new Freddy Krueger type of movie, if I'm not mistaken.
oh, I see. Okay.
But I think for that situation, I think it's 40 years. But in this case, the studio straight up made a deal with, like you said, of with Ryan Coogler for 25 years. So that's cool. That's
Yeah,
cool that you put your all the effort to a very personal story of yours that a big studio produce, and it's going to be seen by a lot of people, and a lot of people have already seen it, right? It's made like over
yeah,
$247 million now and things like that. But like later on, he will officially like own it himself. So I think that's pretty cool. I do like that.
Yeah, no, yeah, that was really cool that he was able to do that. Yeah, I agree. Yep. So I kind of read, I saw some headlines that that could be a bad thing, a negative for movie studios if other directors or just other crew, either writers or producers or whoever, they try to follow suit. That could be an issue, but I don't know. I have to read more into why that is. But yeah, it's an interesting take. I don't. Yeah, I'm sure there's probably some negative aspects to it, but I don't.
I
I wouldn't
think
imagine it.
I think it would be like
Yeah.
some big time filmmaker at that point, that they could do that, because it's like if you're just upcoming or whatever, they're not gonna agree with you to do that,
Oh,
right?
right.
So they're
Yeah.
just
Yeah. Yeah.
like,
For sure.
but
Yeah.
like Ryan Coogler, I mean, Ryan Coogler has made a lot of money with the
Multiple
MCU with
movies.
Black
Yeah.
Panther, right? And then
Yep. Yep.
the movies that he's made on his own, that they
Hmm.
weren't his movies, right? His stories or whatever, but even
Yeah.
those were critically acclaimed, and they made well at the box office as well.
Hmm.
So I mean, for him, they're like, yeah, they'll make that deal with him. But I mean, I think it'll just be like only certain filmmakers that they'll actually do that, right?
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. No. Definitely. I agree. I agree. Yep. All right, Gio. You had some Oscar potential nominations for this one in mind. What
Oh
are you
yeah,
thinking here?
and who knows with the Oscars sometimes, because they're like, some other stuff comes out and they're like, no, we like this more now, or
Yeah.
or sometimes they'll be like, this movie came out too early in the year, we kind of forgot about it already. But I do think for sure, I'm pretty sure, because I was wrong about Dune Part Two, that it would get Dennis Villeneuve Oscar nomination for directing, and that didn't happen. But I do think Ryan Coogler will get a Best Director nomination, Best Picture, Original Screenplay. For the acting, I think they'll probably nominate Wunmi Mosaku, who played Annie,
Hmm.
and for supporting actor, probably Delroy Lindo. And original score, I think that one's probably gonna win without seeing any other movies or any other composed music in
Hmm.
any movies coming up. So what's the guy's name? Ludwig.
Blood Goranson.
Yeah, so he'll probably get at least a nomination, probably win. That would be his third Oscar. He's won twice already for I think Black Panther and Oppenheimer.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and I'm sure some original music as well, like actual, not just a score, but probably some original music. And then I'm sure some technical award nominations it'll get, like cinematography, or things like that, editing, things like that. But this is definitely a contender, beginning early in the year for like a best picture, like one of those front runners already, which is kind of it doesn't happen all the time. But I mean, Dune Part Two came out in March of last year, and it did get Best Picture nomination, and like three, four other Oscar nominations and stuff like that. So, but I think this one might actually get some Oscar love. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Right? Still have a
Yeah.
few months for that. But yeah.
Yeah, I personally don't really follow the Oscars just because I don't know. I just um I guess it's just what they're about and who's actually voting. So I don't really use that as an indicator for me of like a good movie. If anything, I would go to what is the what is the equivalent? The Golden Globes? The Golden Globes?
Well, I want to say it's the equivalent, but it's the one before it, because we have the Golden Globe nominations, the Golden Globes, and then
Yeah.
the Oscars.
Right. Yeah. 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 So the Golden Globe. If anything, I would probably go with those more with those awards and kind of fall in line with um, the awards that those are handed. But I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I still have an interest in the Oscars. I'll probably just go and see who the winners are. But I agree. I wouldn't say this should be at least nominated for some of those categories, right? That you mentioned, if not all of them. A lot of strong elements here, a lot of strong points,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of contenders here
Yeah,
as
but like I
far
said,
as
I mean, we'll see. There's still like 6 months,
yeah,
7 months to go. So this great show, other movies are gonna come out, and
yeah, for sure.
but
Yep.
but yeah.
But yeah, we're not even halfway through the year, so I don't have
All
really
right.
anything else on on my radar here. So I don't know, but this again, I know some people have heard of saw this movie coming and they're aware of this one, but
Mhm.
this wasn't on my radar until it actually came out and it started. I saw the trailer when the trailer came out and I saw what it was and it had my interest. I'm like, oh, okay, and then I started hearing more of the buzz about it. But yeah, this is not one that I was highly anticipating just because I didn't really know too much about it, and I kind of usually just kind of follow the movie when it's a closer release date. But
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
really glad I saw it and I went to go see it in theaters twice again.
Yeah.
But yeah, Geo, we did it. I know we went a little longer than I had anticipated. Again, it's usually the case, but it wasn't no 3 hours, like The Exorcist. But
Right.
yeah, no, thank you again for joining me
Definitely.
this discussion. And yeah, this was good. I just couldn't wait to discuss this movie. A lot of highlights, as you can tell, for me on this movie. But yeah, anything you want to plug? I know, of course, I'll have your link to your channel and your social media in the description below. But anything you want to plug or anything you want to shout out here?
Well, I mean, I guess the only thing is the live streams that I do. A figures talk, talk about 1/6 scale figures. About most of those figures are they come from films, TV shows, and characters from other media and stuff like that. So we end up talking about other movie projects, even though it's a figures talk show. But we actually do talk about like movies from a recently released or maybe it's like some older ones, right? So that's why I kind of like doing that. And then I'm also doing the Met Report. So the figures talk is on Friday nights, and then the Met Report. I usually do them on Saturdays, like around 12:35, and that one is about like movies, TV, entertainment, and stuff like that. And what I'm going to start to do is I'm going to do a lot bit more of those a tier lists with filmographies of filmmakers and actors. So I'm gonna start doing a lot more of those. I've done some Quentin Tarantino one before,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to do a Steven Spielberg one, but that one's gonna be like a big one and a long one. And I'm trying to get like a certain amount of people in it. So that one's taking me a little while to do, but there will be a Steven Spielberg directed
Oh,
filmography
nice.
on the Met Report. And then I'm also going to do some actors one like Jim Carrey, Will Smith films, and
Yeah, I
things like
saw
that.
that. Nice. Yeah.
But we'll eventually be doing that. But yes, that's pretty much the only thing that I do. Once in a while, I'll do like a little short or video or stuff like that.
Mhm.
But Fifi, thank you again for inviting me here. Right, so you didn't know
Yes,
if I
sir.
was a
Yeah.
vampire or not, but you still invited me in. So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
thank you for
Always
that,
welcoming you in, Gio.
Fifi.
Always welcoming you in.
Whether I'm a
Vampire or not.
vampire or not, right?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So there you go.
I
But
think you'll
thank
still be a
you.
nice guy, even if you were a vampire. I think you'd still be
All
a
right.
good guy. Yeah. You're like,
I
no, I
guess
can't bite you. I can't bite
I,
you.
gue- I guess we'll find that, right?
Yeah. I
But
hope
thank
not,
you,
but okay.
Fizi.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, as always. I do appreciate your time with everything, um, and yeah. So I've streamed with you a couple of times, a few times actually now. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So thank you for inviting me here for the one movie. So this is only episode 5. I thought you had more episodes of this.
Yeah. It seems like that, right? Yeah. No, for that one movie in particular, yeah, it's episode 5. But I have, there's other streams that I do or videos that I do on this
Mhm.
channel on Feezys Media. So I'd have the playlist going too. There's just Film Grain, right? Where I think that was the Christmas one that
Oh
you
yeah.
were talking about. Yeah, that's like that was Film Grain, that one movie. Yeah, yeah, I should know my own stuff, but yeah, those are like, because I have 2 different channels, right? So the Feezys Figures channel
Mhm.
and then the Feezys Media channel. And so I've tried to, quite a few different types of streams going on. So I'm trying to get them all straight in my head. But I think Film Grain for sure and that one movie are the two. And, but no, yeah, to your question, I haven't done too many. I need to do more. I need to start doing more on video games and TV shows as well. So that's in the works. But yeah, as for me, you can find me, like Gio mentioned, sometimes I'm on his Figures Talk stream when I can be,
Oh
when I
yeah.
can make it. And then the Met Report, I don't know if I've been on one yet, the Met Report, but it's just
Yeah.
schedule, time differences. I don't know how, but I'm always open when I can. I'm always open to be on your streams when I'm able to. And if you'll have me, of course, that it's always fun. It's always
Of
great to
course.
talk to you, man. It's always a pleasure. And likewise, whenever you're able to make it on my stream, you're always welcome. And so, yeah, my other channel, like I mentioned, that'll be in the description below if you're interested. But Feezys Figures, that's where I talk about collectibles, action figures, things like that. You can find discussions on those, and I have a few different streams going on, video series on those. And then, yeah, as always, if you enjoy the content, found this interesting, informative, either way, please don't forget to hit that thumbs up, like button. That would be really appreciated. If you have any suggestions, any feedback, constructive criticism, please let me know. Feel free to put that in the comments below, and I'll take in what I can. I always want to progress and get better and evolve. So yeah, I'm always open to suggestions. I know this is, like I said, it's still early for this episode 5, and I'm still growing. And so I just appreciate everyone's patience and, just kind of helping me along that journey. So thanks again for your time. I appreciate you all. And with that, I'll catch you on the next one. Have a good one, all.